Guys, when I came on and said that Donald Trump was going to lose the presidential election to Joe Biden, or at the very least, it looked like he was going to lose the election to Joe Biden, I wasn't saying it because I loved it. In fact, I think even when I said it, I was making the point that from the standpoint of a lefty, it makes my job more difficult of trying to push my own lefties to try to push Joe Biden to appropriate certain policies. Meaning, it is in my best interest for Donald Trump to at the very least look like he can win. But like I told you, I can't fathom a world, a universe. I can't fathom this reality where a person is responsible and the public deems him responsible for losing 200,000 American lives. And then they say, yeah, we want some more of that. We want more of that. This could have been a different outcome. This could have been a fundamentally different reality if Trump would have came out and said, let's do COVID, Medicare for everyone with COVID. If he would have attended to the needs of the public as opposed to dealing with just, I want to get the economy up and running. The public would have forgiven him for a lot of the stuff. And yet, not so much. This is where we are. The public looks at him as being responsible. And because the public deems him responsible for that loss of life, the public is not going to get or push for more of that. It would be weird if the public did. I mean, tally up everything. 30 million out of a job. All of these people are going to start getting evicted. And the saddest part about it is that Joe Biden is probably the weakest of candidates. Kamala Harris, weakest of candidates. And yet, it's not going to matter because of all the calamity that's around him. So, less than a month, the day of reckoning, I want to show you some of the polling leading into this. And I want to give you some historical context in regards to how bad this is. I apologize, I'm a little congested this morning. Also, if you're expecting fault lines, as Shane kept saying, fault lines, well, it's federal holiday, so we're not going to be on today, but I, ever vigilant, indefatigable, will be here. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. My name is Jamarl Thomas. This is the Progressive Soapbox. Guys, if you dig this content, please like, share, and subscribe. You can always support this content through PayPal or Patreon. I apologize, I'm really stopped up this morning, but I'm still going to try to do the news. I want to show you something. This is Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham is running in a race against Jamie Harrison. Now, Jamie Harrison is a former state party chairman with a really specific singular distinction. He is raising a buku amount of money. Money that you would think that would be in almost like a presidential election amount of money. And they are 1 point apart. Think about that. Think about that. Lindsey Graham has been in Congress forever. Think of this, thick as thieves. John McCain. John McCain dies. Lindsey Graham's still there. Thick as thieves with Donald Trump. Well, mostly. But at this very moment, this gentleman has been able to put together a narrative and a story and has been able to run neck and neck with Graham to the point where this race is a toss-up. Graham maybe taking a walk this year. Now, the question is, does that have anything to do with Trump? Trump is dragging down some of his fellow Republicans. Now, that's how bad this election is going for Trump. And the catch of it is, Joe Biden is beating the devil out of Trump. And this is all because of Trump. Like, you must understand, the country is looking, or the public is looking at the presidency and this election through the lens of COVID. So it's not really the thing that Joe Biden doesn't have this kind of energy in the race. It doesn't really matter that nobody really wants Joe Biden all that much. They look at it as, we don't want Trump for another X number of years. And because we don't want Trump for X number of years, we'll just put this other guy in. Now, I have said this was a diminishment of democracy, that this in no way is indicative of a representative government. In fact, it's the opposite. But that doesn't really matter if you have a president that on all sorts of metrics across the board has utterly and completely, indubitably just failed. Economics, well, how many people you have unemployed? What, 20, 30 million? Brotherly connections, how many protests do you have across the country? Like, from one metric to the next, even foreign policy, by his own objectives, whether it's Iran, whether it's Venezuela, these were all failures. The cages, failures. The tax cuts. And right now, not being able to seal the deal with being able to get money to the American public, who is desperate because of, again, COVID-19. And because, look, you have some people who are doing monstrously well. The higher the income bracket, the better off they are. You have others who are not. And it's that part that you need to attend to that doesn't seem to matter all that much. I mean, there's a gulf of maybe, what, $1 million? $1 trillion, I'm sorry. And you can't mind the gap. Can't mind the gap. ABC News came out with a poll recently. I think it was Sunday night. And on this, let's see, where is it? I'm trying to find the exact number. Here we are. In fact, it's not just ABC News, there's multiple polls. So, right here. This one is, all right, this is a Washington Post. Let's do CNN. Let's just work it from their site. ABC News Washington Post poll released on Sunday was the latest poll to indicate Biden's strength. Biden leads 55% to 43%. That's double digits. Less than a month into the presidency. The poll was the third quality national poll published this week that has Biden up by more than 10 points and over 50%. The other two being CNN and Fox News. Now, CNN, I believe it's this one. This is Fox News, I'm sorry. Fox News poll, likely voters, 53%. 43% to Trump. Like, home field. It's like safe space Fox News. Register voters, 52%. 43%. Still, 9 points. This one, CNN. Likely voters, 57%. Donald Trump, 41%. Here's another one. Register voters, 56%, 41%. These numbers, meaning it's gotten worse. Like, if after the debate, it got worse. Yes, Donald Trump specifically got Joe Biden to repudiate his base. Good job. Congratulations. The base was already a beaten animal, though, so the base wasn't going anywhere. So despite getting what you wanted didn't matter. I kept saying that. You attacking the base like that or getting Joe Biden to repudiate the base didn't matter. The base was already repudiated. It was a beaten thing. It was a captured animal. Joe Biden was going to get the base regardless because he was terrified of you. Let's keep going because there's historic context on this. That's awesome. In the 21 previous presidential elections since 1936, there have only been 5 challengers who have led at this point in time. Of the 5, only one, Bill Clinton, was ahead by more than 5 points. Only one was ahead by 5 points. None were earning more than 48% of the vote in the poll. Meaning, in other words, Biden is the first challenger to be above 50% at this late juncture in the campaign. This campaign also marks a massive difference in the 2016 campaign with Hillary Clinton, who was ahead of Trump by as high as 7 points in October 2016. She never came anywhere near as close as approaching 50% of the vote. Trump merely had to win the lion's share of the undecided and the third-party voters who would basically vote the candidate to victory in 2016, meaning it was that share that was able to push Trump to victory. Even if every undecided or third-party voter went to Trump right now, he would still be down 5 to 6 points nationally. There has never been a case where the incumbent has been in this situation since 1936. That's mind-blowing. Like, they're basically saying, if you give all of those undecided voters, if you give them to Trump right now, and third-party voters, give them to Trump, he still loses by like 5 points. And they're like, there's never been a situation, go back to 1936, where a candidate has been that far behind in a race. Yeah, that's mind-blowing. That's mind-blowing. Now, look, this has nothing to do with the Electoral College, though. I mean, the Electoral College, at the end of the day, chooses the candidate. And so you could have a situation where, Biden wins the popular vote, loses Electoral College. And also, keep in mind, you also have a situation where Trump is about to put in a Supreme Court pick. That Supreme Court pick could have a situation where this election goes to the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court chooses Trump. Buckle up. Buckle up. I mean, in real terms, you could have a race that goes to the court. You have all of these ballots that are supposed to be there in the mail. Seems to be gearing up where neither side is going to accept the results, especially if there's any legal challenge that can be possible that could change the result of the race. Meaning, no side is just going to say, okay, fair enough, you got it. If Joe Biden wins in a landslide, that's one thing. That's one thing, maybe. If he doesn't win in a landslide, and Trump is still screaming about these absentee ballots, oh, there's something wrong with the ballots, and it goes to court, and his person is in that seat. I'm just going to say, buckle up. It looks like Trump is going to take a brutal beating in this race. I could be wrong. I didn't say he was going to take a beating. I just say he was going to lose. But I put it this way. If the race is closer than what we think it is, even still, I still think he's going to lose. Here's another point that they're making. New polls out on Sunday from CBS YouGov demonstrates that Biden's above 50% in some key battlegrounds. He leads 52% to 46% in Michigan and Nevada. In Iowa, the state that Trump took by 9 points in 2016, he is nowhere close to must win for Biden. The race is a tie at 49%. Trump is looking bad. That's all I'm saying. I understand there's some Trumpers out there who are hoping, praying that Trump can do it. But I'm doubtful. God knows. We will see. I think it will go to the courts. Biden, I think it will too. I don't see either candidate saying, okay, fair enough, congratulations. I can't see Democrats. There's no impetus for Democrats to do that. Think about what they consider Trump to be. They consider Trump to be the end of all things. And if indeed they consider Trump to be the end of all things, why would you hand it over to him like that? I mean, they've tried to rip it out of his hands with impeachment, right? So I can't see a situation where there is any impetus at all for Joe Biden to just say, okay, fair enough, here, take it. I don't see it. It just seems like, look, this seems like it's going to get dark. I could be wrong, but that's what it looks like. I agree with you, Garden. This could potentially go to the courts. Why would you even listen to a CNN poll at this point, given the history? Well, it's not just CNN, Garden. It's CNN, it's Fox, for fuck's sake. I can go, it's a litany of polls. It's not just one. You have to accept that not all of the polling agencies are going to be just kind of out against Trump. It's not just one, it's multiples. Jay, most aren't smart enough to put it together. Both sides will cry foul, yes. Both sides will have a history of cheating, yes. Yeah, it's a mess. It's a mess. And unfortunately, and that's the worst part. Like, Democrats are going to cry, oh, this is, Russia. Somebody's going to cry China. You may have intelligence services saying XYZ. You are going to have Democrats in some cases saying going to the courts. You're going to have Republicans going to the courts. And, like I said, unless it's a landslide, and even if it's a landslide, you're going to have it potentially going to the courts. And if it goes to the Supreme Court and Trump's pick is on that bench, buckle up. That's all I'm saying. This is going to be an interesting year, to put it mildly. Like, share, and subscribe. This year didn't have to be this way. Lefties could have pulled us in a different direction. You have, 30 million people who wanted Medicare for all, maybe more. That's not including the people who are Democrats, who also wanted Medicare for all, who needed Medicare for all. It's the middle of a pandemic. The idea that you have to even argue for the position seems to be ludicrous to me. And yet, here we are, having to make the argument for the position of healthcare in the midst of a pandemic. Each and every person, lefty, Democrat, wayward Republican who just wanted Medicare for all because one of their family members was ill and they were like, yes, this policy is just right. Those people in this moment, this year, found out that their policy was popular to the tune of 88% of Democrats backed it. And you had 70% of the rest of the public backed it. And even still, you had lefties still, the moment that they lost that race, turn around, bend their head down, prop their asses up, spread their cheeks out. A complete inability to push for policy. And 40 years, you've gotten so accustomed to just saying, okay, fair enough. And even Sanders, the moment that Sanders acquiesced, everybody else acquiesced. And it's like, why are you acquiescing? You won this. How do you ever expect to push a candidate to any degree when you can't push a policy through after getting 88% of Democrats to back it. That's a profound failure. It's a profound failure. Yeah, I'm not going to beat a dead horse. I'm just trying to make a basic point that your power in this is not in the Democratic Party. Your power in this is outside of the party. And it's outside of the party in the way where you are articulating, screaming, you get our vote when you represent our interests. And it doesn't matter if it's Donald Trump. It doesn't matter if it's Satan. It doesn't matter if it's Ted Cruz. It doesn't matter who it is on the other side. There's still a responsibility for that candidate to represent your interests, especially now in the context of all the things that are availing you. When FDR was in office, and it was the Great Depression, and he acted as if this country was being attacked by an alien force from some other planet, and he had to take all the powers at his disposal to try to deal with that issue. That's not the way Biden's running this race. That's not the way Biden's running this race at all. Biden is running this race as if he's doing you a favor. And I am making a point that saying that is an undermining of government in any sense of a representative government anyway, and definitely in the sense of a democracy. This is backwards. We've inverted our politics. And I understand that people are terrified of Trump, fair enough. But being terrified of Trump shouldn't in any way get you to just abandon this notion of democratic process or democratic thought, or for that matter, that your candidate has a responsibility to you and to your government. I guess I'm trying to make the point that says, look, I understand Trump is an ogre. I understand people are terrified of Trump and Trump is a maniac. By the same token, your candidate and that guy getting in office has certain responsibilities. And those responsibilities definitely should be found in the context of healthcare. The problem is that people have abdicated out of fear and cowardice all notion of that guy is supposed to get my vote. Instead, turned it into, oh my God, please just save me from the boogeyman, Trump. That needs to change. And it's unfortunate. But this is where we are. Yeah, that needs to change. And it's not going to change this time around. Again, when you're looking at the polling, and the polling is basically showing that Joe Biden is winning so far over top of Trump, that even if you take the independents, or even if you take the people who are basically the undecideds or the third party, putting them together, it still doesn't match up to Trump. It's astonishing. Pop reality. It's the Democratic Party with the faux veil of being tolerable when, without identity politics, what is it? The parties are one. Oh, you mean parties are basically the same. I don't think the parties are basically the same. I think the backers of the parties end up being basically the same. Meaning the people who are dropping tons of money into the back of the parties. Yes, I think those people are basically, for all intents and purposes, relatively the same. They may have different interests, but it's still cash. And it's still yanking your political space in a different way from the standpoint of what the public may want. The identity politics thing is played differently on each side. The thing is, we have more in common than we do to separate us. And I think that's the aggravating part when you look at our world. A lot of this stuff breaks down on issues of class. And unfortunately, because it breaks down on issues of class, and it's just aggravating, that's all. We can do better. And we don't do better. And we find things to argue and fight about and piss off at each other about. But at the end of the day, the things that we care about, we want our family to be safe. We want to basically have a decent life for ourselves. We want to be able to have our needs met. And that's why I kind of always make this point about class. And I make it very specific in a sense of what is something that is a lightning rod for all of us right now. And that issue, it's for most of us, or a lot of us, it's healthcare. And as such, if you're looking for a tip of the spear, that would be something. My point is find something that people relatively agree on. And when you get 88% of Democrats agreeing on a topic, or 70% of the entire public, there's your tip of the spear. That is a public demand. And in the public making that demand, you leave it up to your political device to either accept it or not. Does the Democratic Party appropriate a policy that gets 88% of Democratic support and 70% of the public support? Or do they tank it, not wanting to set the precedent of the public setting a demand in such a way? And if indeed they do tank it, what does that mean? What does it mean for your government? What does it mean for your party? What does it mean? In this very specific situation, this may be a moot point. I mean, it comes across as if the public has basically said, we're so terrified of Trump, we'll just give it over. Give over the farm. In this case, though, it looks like the public has made up their mind. The public is terrified, and so the public is going to vote Joe Biden. We'll see what happens. Like, share.